Just messing with it. All right, ready? Okay.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. On the next episode of Creatives Corner, my name is James Dale, and my next guest is Sheryl Smikle-Russell.
Hi.
How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, that's beautiful. And we go way back, and we'll talk about that during the interview. Let me give you a little bit of a background for Miss Russell. As a child, Sheryl Smikle was a dreamer. The beach was her favorite place, just like many people. You know, you put your foot in the sand and you search for shells and you can hear the water swishing in your ears. When I was a kid, I used to put the shells to my ear, and sometimes that would help me fall asleep, and I would have the most vivid of dreams. And you know, she would spend hours dreaming about her future and how she would be when she was older. Those who knew her would describe her as talkative,
Still is.
hardworking, kind, caring, ambitious, and has a super positive attitude. You sound like my mother. That describes my mother. Her dreams were always consistent. You know, she migrated to America, having a large family, becoming very successful, and helping her family. You know, I think that is everyone's dream to procreate, to being a nurturer, to help other people outside of ourselves. Anybody who is a decent person, anyway. Her dreams came true when she migrated to America at the age of 18 years old, being a young black Jamaican girl with few belongings, yet her hard work and having a positive mindset, pun intended, Sheryl became a mother of 7 successful children. She's a wife, she's a realtor, entrepreneur, a nurse, and a life coach. Anything else that you do? You do a whole lot. You got a lot of hats.
I'm in the moment. So
Okay. I hear that. The book that we are featuring is the I Am Mindset. Where she shares stories of her experiences working multiple jobs, dealing with racism, overcoming academic struggles, and learning to focus on self-care. She hopes that her stories will help encourage anyone who feels stuck, overwhelmed, and believe that success in any area of life is not unattainable. Sheryl's journey is proof. She's a living proof, living testament is that anything and everything is possible through being, you know, having inspiration, being inspiring, aspiring, and motivating others. But you have to do it for yourself first.
Yes.
You know, there's an old adage: every time that you go on the plane, the stewardess tell you where all the exits are and what to do. And the one thing that resonates with me is that you have to put on the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help others. If you are not fulfilled within yourself, you can't help anybody else.
Right.
And your first step is to reset your mindset. All of the indoctrination, all of the negative connotations, everything, all the negative biases that you've learned since you was a kid, get rid of it and try to be the best version of yourself. I say that you have to aspire to be the change you want to see. So, Ms. Sheryl,
Yes, sir.
my first question to you is, what is more gratifying? Nursing, real estate, or writing?
That's tough.
Okay.
The word more gratifying, when I hear that,
Mhm.
I have to stop and think, because every aspect of everything that you just mentioned brought me to where I am.
Okay.
So if I'm feeling full and grateful and gratifying right now, it's because of all those elements in my life.
Okay.
I could say though that the one thing that is common in everything that I've done is that it's of service. So it gives me great joy to be a person who serve others.
Okay.
So in nursing, real estate, coaching, being a parent,
Okay.
it's serving. So my journey has always led me to be a person who is of a servant mentality.
Okay.
So that gives me grace and that gives me joy.
That's the gratifying thing.
That's a gratifying thing.
Okay.
Yes.
So that leads me to segue into my next question is how do you balance the home and work life wearing so many professional hats?
Okay. It's funny you asked that because as a life coach, I talk a lot about balance. And there is a thing that says you have to walk the talk or practice what you preach. And for a while, I always thought like balance, when I think about balance, a picture in my head is like of a balance beam, you know, where you have that fulcrum under it supporting and everything look nice. I've never been able to relate to that. So when I think of balance right now, I think of an individual uniqueness. So if somebody was to ask me, like you just did, what is balance? I would say a life where in any moment I feel joy and I feel fulfilled and I feel like I'm giving from a place of overflow. And for me, that's a balance. So it's not something like it's a physical, you know, because sometimes we focus on things like, you know, I want my life to be balanced, and you're working so hard to get it balanced that you create another job for yourself. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
So for me, if I'm at work and I'm focusing on work, I'm not thinking about home. You know, the thought about home is that everything there is good, and that's where the balance is.
Okay.
So then when I'm at work, I'm focusing on work. Knowing that home is good. When I'm home, I'm not focusing on work. I know that work is done, I did my best, and I'm good. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, yes, it does. It takes off, you take off the hats and you put down the hats and you put on the other hat.
Right.
It reminds me of two things. I'm going to age myself, but it reminds me of there was a skit on the Living Callers called The Headleys, the Haymonks. I don't know if anybody remembers that in the audience, where they had, it was a Jamaican family and they had so many different jobs. And when one job finished, they would just take off their hat or their uniform and put on the next hat, and they will be right in that moment, in that place. They have the ability to compartmentalize. That is something that a lot of people don't do. I drive buses for a living, and there's a lot of drivers that take home what experiences they have at work back home, and you know, they take it out on their family and vice versa. Whatever ailments that they have in their home life, they bring it to work and they lash out on the public. So people, the main thing for we to do as human beings in society is to compartmentalize. You have to be able to relax, relate, release, and know when it's time for you to move on. You have to move on. So that is another segue for me to lead to another question. And
well said.
What inspires you creatively?
I am learning that inspiration just shows up around you. And right now my focus is being able to be in the moment. So it depends on what it is that I want to do. So, you know, my children could be your inspiration.
Okay.
I find inspiration in people, places, things. So I don't have to look too far. And as you mentioned before, when I was growing up, the beach was my place of inspiration. Like I would go there and I would dream about everything, right? But as I grew up, I realized that, you know, what the book says is that there's a difference between dreams and aspirations, you know? So well, as I got older, I realized that, you could like dream all day and get inspiration all day, but if you're not willing to do the work to get to where you want to go, then the dream is just going to stay there and it's going to die. So inspiration right now, when I think about that, I think about, you know, I connect it with my aspirations. I'm thinking, okay, what is it that is driving me? Where do I want to go? Where do I see myself? And what is it that I'm willing to do? And then I seek things. I seek people that are where I want to go. Or, you know, little things that's going to, what kind of impact do I want to make? And when I see people like yourself who are doing great things, that's an inspiration for me. That inspires me. That makes me like, wow, you know, I feel so good about the things that I'm doing or the things that I want to do.
and you incorporate it into your life. When
Yes.
I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
I used to do ADT. I would go door to door and knock on people's door, try to sell them security systems.
Oh.
And during training, the manager told us that we are not selling ADT, you're selling yourself.
Mm.
You know, so you
Yes.
have to approach every situation
Mm-hmm.
at the best version of yourself. If you
Mhm.
don't, then people can pick up on your lack of self-confidence,
Right.
and they're
Right.
not gonna take you seriously.
Mhm.
So I want to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
what brought you to write your book?
Well, the book.
Mhm.
The book, The I Am Mindset, actually started out as being I Am My Story.
Mm-hmm.
So years ago, you know, as a young mother, you know, I started having children at about 26 years old,
Mhm.
and I've always had this dream that became an aspiration that I wanted lots of children,
Mhm.
like 10 children. And nobody took me seriously. Not even my husband.
Mhm.
Sorry, honey.
Mhm.
I don't think he took me serious. Because, you know, people think that when you say you want something, you know, you want like kids, you'd start early, because back then early was like, you know, early 20s,
Mhm.
and you're working toward things and it's not happening. But I always said I wanted a lot of kids. So God has blessed me, and I started 26 and I had 3 kids by I was 30, and by the time I was 40 I had 3 more and I adopted 1 more, and you know, things were going along. But with that came challenges
Mhm.
of being able to raise children with the mindset and, you know, the discipline that you grew up to have, right?
Mhm.
So I found it was challenging because, you know, you want to raise individuals, you want to give them choices and all of that. And being in a society where, you know, you're from a different culture,
Mhm.
and now you're having children that are born in this culture, you have to be able to, you know,
Yeah.
match both.
Yeah.
You know, you have
Yeah.
to be able to understand the culture they're in, and also align it with the culture that you are used to.
Mhm.
So with that, I struggled. I'm like, how can I find something that I could give to my children that would make them individuals?
Mhm.
And the thought of the I am just keep popping up.
Mhm.
So over time, with lots of work and a lot of support, you know, I had like my sister-in-law, I had everybody online. My sister-in-law would come to me and she would say, what is this I am thing? What does it look like? And I said, oh, that's not it. You're not gonna keep. But eventually, it came to being I Am My Story. And the idea behind it is you need to cultivate an image for yourself
Mhm.
that belongs to you, because in society you're going to hear everything about who you are.
Mhm.
People are going to say, oh, you're this, you're that, you know. And especially with women,
Mhm.
I have 5 girls, and with young women, you know, somebody would look at, you know, one of my daughter or their friends and said, you're so beautiful, you're so this. But if they don't feel it, if they don't believe it for themselves,
It's gonna sound like
it's
a lie.
not right.
Yeah. Gonna
So
make them
then-
feel uncomfortable.
Right,
Right.
right. So then I start thinking, if I give them the gift of, you know, self-actualization, self-affirmation, that kind of thing, how powerful would that be?
Mhm.
So I started doing that. So that I Am My Story became a person who is inspiring,
Mhm.
aspiring, and motivating.
Mhm.
And I would give that to them. I would say, listen, I don't care what the situation is.
Mhm.
If you show up being a person who is inspiring,
Mhm.
and you have aspirations,
Mhm.
and you're motivating yourself and others, that's it. You don't have to explain anything to the world. When you say I am,
Mhm.
everything else.
So the I am in the I am mindset is
Right.
an acronym for inspiring, aspiring, and motivating.
Yes, yes. And it came from the I Am My Story, because I said your story is secondary.
Okay. Mhm.
Your story is something that you're going to rise above, rise over. It doesn't define you.
Right.
But when you say I am, it's the start of you deciding and saying to the universe, this is what I am saying about myself. And nobody else could say that but you.
Right. Right.
So that's where it started. And I think it was about 2007
Okay.
that this started and that journey. So I'm not going to say unfortunately, but it has evolved. Just like a dream to an aspiration,
Mhm.
it evolved from the I Am My Story to the I Am Mindset.
Mhm.
Because as this materialized, I realized that the focus needs to be the mindset.
Mhm.
It's a mindset that's going to control your story and
every
how you
day.
tell your story. So that's where the I am mindset come from. If you have a mindset of an image of yourself that is inspiring, aspiring, and motivating, then you're good. Because here's the thing, the inspiration part of the I am is that it's a double fold. You can inspire others
and be inspired by others.
Others.
That's good.
The end of it, the motivating part of it, is the same thing. People could look at you and say, you motivate me, but you can also reciprocate. You could also say, like, I'm looking for motivation, but only you can have your aspirations.
Right. Everybody got to be honest with yourself
Yes.
when you need help.
Yes.
And when you can help,
yes.
you know, because if you deny what the truth is, it's always going to be an underlying situation in your life that you're trying to overcome, and that's what resentment stands in, and it comes in and it prevents you from living in the present.
Yes.
You know, if you focus too much on the past, then you become depressed. If you have any unresolved issues with anybody, then that's when resentment sets in and you can't move forward. And if you think about the future, then you just become more anxious in life, and you are not in the present and in the now. And we all have to be in the now. And having the I am mindset, it gives you the tools to make sure that you are holding yourself accountable for your actions, and you can live in the now, and you will look at anything in the world, like Mrs. Russell said, and for inspiration, and you want to aspire to do something. If you see a rose blossoming in the springtime, you say, oh, that's a beautiful rose, that inspires me to do ... you know. So we all have to keep ourselves accountable, and we always have to look inside with ourselves. That segues me to the next question, right?
Wonderful.
What is more fulfilling? Being a homemaker, being a mom or wife, or an entrepreneur?
Again, I think the first question you asked was kind of similar to this question. Fulfilling. There is a quote that we all know that says, you know, everything is about how you look at life. You know, sometimes we look at the life as being half full or half empty, and all of that. Right. And I find myself now trying to think differently, you know, and there is the I am mindset again. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is it necessary for me to either be half empty or half full? You know, what is this thing about having to decide what the glass look like? The glass is a glass, right? So for me, I'm going to fill my glass up, right? And I am going to be now having the mindset where when I go out to be of service to others, when I go out to support my children, when I'm being a wife and a mother, when I'm being a nurse or whatever, I'm going to be giving from an overflow. Now, if one day my glass show up as being half, I'm not settled and I'm not staying there. Is it half empty or is it half full? I'm gonna be like, wait a minute, it's not where I'm comfortable. So it's gonna be coming full. It's always on that journey of becoming where I want it to be. So I'm gonna work like, okay, so that's gonna be my comfort. I'll be able to operate at half empty or half full, but my place of comfort, my place of fulfillment is when I am overflowing. When I'm overflowing with love, when I'm overflowing with compassion, and I'm overflowing with all these things that I can give. When I'm giving, I'm like, I know that my source, that where I'm getting this from is filling me up. I'm filling up so that I can be given from that place.
So your source that helps you fulfill and be filled and having your glass completely full and overflowing, so you can give to other people. Where do you draw that energy from? There we go.
The great I am.
There you go. I knew the answer to the question, but I want the public to be on the same page. So the Most High is the one thing that fulfills all of us. The Most High is everything, and it makes everything possible. Without the great I am, then we are not. Okay. All right. What words of wisdom do you have for anyone who aspires to become an entrepreneur or a writer or a mom or a nurse or a real estate agent?
Right. Well, because the book is about the I am mindset. What is coming to me right now is that if you focus on who you are as an individual and the person you want to become, who you are in that moment is going to be the history, the story of who you were, right? So if you focus on the person that you are right now and think about how can I make myself a better version of myself, right? Without regret, because tomorrow this is going to be history,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And yesterday this was your future. So you have this opportunity right now to say, I'm going to dream and I'm going to use that the I am mindset to like hold that as my accountability partner. So everything that I do in life, I'm going to look at it, whether it to be an entrepreneur or to be a nurse or whatever it is in your life, I'm going to go, do I find myself inspiring? Do I have a source of inspiration? And you literally write that down and you go check. Maybe you may start out as like, my God, Mr. Dale inspires me so much.
Thank you.
I want to have my own podcast. I want to all this. And then before I move from that, I'm going to say, how can I be a source of inspiration to somebody like Mr. Dale is an inspiration to me. How can I make somebody light up and want to do something? When Mr. Dale called me, I didn't even ask him what it was or anything. I'm like, yeah, just tell me when and what time and I'll be there.
Because the people out there need to see light in the darkness, because there's a lot of people out there that's in the darkness and you don't know that they're in the darkness. But if you are a person of light and you are a bringer of light, or you aspire to be a bringer of light, you see the darkness in people, you become an empath, and you are compelled to bring people into the light, because it can be lonely in the light. You want people to be in the light with you. You don't want to be in the party by yourself dancing. You want to dance with other people. You don't want to be at an event all alone and you just talking to the four walls. You want to talk to people and get a Q&A from people so you can aspire and be motivated to carry on. And the way that we need to do that is to all need to have some kind of sympathy, some kind of empathy, and try to walk in other people's shoes and try to not be so judgmental. Whatever issues we have in life, ask for help. There's so much avenues out there for us to go down and to try to remedy what ails us, and we have to be honest with ourselves.
Perfect.
So I like the book. I perused through it and I see that it is a workbook. So
it has a workbook element to it.
So when you go and you get this book, where can the audience get this book?
Amazon. It's on Amazon, or it's going to be showing up in your local bookstores. There's a wonderful bookstore in Bloomfield.
The Writery Inc.
The Writery Inc. And let me tell you, you're going to find the I Am Mindset there. So Amazon, the Writery Inc. And here's the thing about the Writery Inc. If you come there, I guarantee you might find even a signed copy that you could have. We could arrange that for you. Okay, so because you're special, right? And you are on the journey of having your I Am Mindset. You already have it, but now we're going to focus, on what it really means for you. So come to the Writery Inc. and you'll find a copy, or go to Amazon and buy your book, and we'll work things out from there.
This is a beautiful picture that you chose for the cover of your book. What brought you to actually have this picture or use this picture as the cover of the I Am Mindset?
Oh my goodness. So this picture is a picture of me, and years before, this wasn't even a thought, I was in my favorite place in the world, in Jamaica. In my little community called Robbins Bay, and there's this tree in Robbins Bay where all the roots are exposed, and the roots just go up into the tree. And I was passing by this tree and I was like, oh my God, the I am, in me, we all have this thing where we need to find who we are. And we never really think about the roots of where things come from, and just looking at this tree and being able to like look from the top of the tree and go right down to see where the roots go. And it was just such an inspiration that I took this picture. And then years later, as we were talking about the book, and Mr. Dale, I must say that you want to tell them how your relationship with the book. You're asking me about the picture.
Yes.
What is your relationship with the book?
My relationship with the book is that I formatted the book.
Yes.
I edited the book with the help of the writer.
Yes.
And we came about this picture, and we used it for a representation of what the I Am mindset means, because a tree without roots is a plastic tree.
Right.
It doesn't
Doesn't
have
exist.
life.
Yeah.
It doesn't have life. And in this book, it holds you accountable, and you can draw from it, and you could write into it, and it would be your root. This would be your guide for the tomorrow. This would be your guide when you are in the present. If you have a thought, if you see something that is inspiring and it motivates you to do something else, or you want to motivate somebody else, you can buy a copy of this book and give it to somebody. You say, this would be a good fit for you in your life right now. Here's my gift to you. So
inspiration.
This is a very good. This was gratifying for me, because I knew once I got the project that this would be bigger than me. I would be helping a whole bunch of people, men and women alike, and it was an honor to be involved in this project.
Thank you. Likewise.
What other things that your audience could find you doing, other than what we know with the nursing and the real estate? Do you have any more written projects coming out yet? Podcasts? Do you have any groups that you want to tell the public about?
Yes. So thank you for asking. So as you mentioned, I'm involved in a lot of things, but right now my focus is always being in the moment, and that takes me to the coaching side of what I'm doing, because that to me is passion. You remember as you were talking about in my bio, you said, people said I talk a lot. And it's funny, because when I was growing up, that would be like a negative. In Jamaica we'd say chatterbox. And now as a life coach, I do talk a lot, but I realized that the one element that I never focused on was that I was a good listener.
I was just about to make that comment.
Yes. So now that I started to tap into the other side of me, and really it's like, you are a good talker, but you're also a good listener, is that power that comes within that. So from everything that I've done in my life and brought me to being the life coach that I'm focusing on and supporting others, I do have a podcast, and it's called the I Am My Story podcast. We did 12 series, I think it was in 2020 through 2022, and about to start another 12 series, right?
And where can the audience listen to you?
It's on Spotify.
Okay.
It's on Spotify. It's the I Am My Story podcast. Also, I have an app called Becoming She. And the app is focused on women, especially women in healthcare. And the Becoming She, the She is an acronym. I'm good at acronym, putting things together. Is a woman or a person who is successful, happy, and empowered. And the She is not, it's not putting you in a box, because sometimes when people hear about success, they first think about money. It's about being successful as you interpret it to be. It's very subjective. And that's the point I want to bring across. Because, there are many of us could be in a room, and if I go around the room and I said, what does success mean? I could get a variety of different answers or, outlook on success. So the successful part of it is very subjective, right? It's successful, happiness, another subjective thing, and being empowered. And that empowerment part of it is very important, because a lot of times when we talk to, especially women, they would say, I feel like I don't have the power, I don't have the space to do what I really want to do. So how do we get you to become that person? right? Yes. And the becoming is, somebody would say, why not say I am she? You know, that word becoming is very important, because I think sometimes in life we get stuck on the fact that, you know, I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. Right. That kind of thing.
This, and this. Yeah.
And they miss the joy. They miss the message about the journey. About the journey of becoming. You can be at a space in your life where you're quite contented, but you're still becoming. You know, you're still giving yourself the space to become a better version of yourself. Right. But it doesn't mean that you can't be happy and successful and empowered in the moment. And that's the goal. So the becoming is you holding yourself accountable to be always evolving, just like our body, just like everything else in life. You know, if we get stagnant and stuck, we're gonna die, right? So our body is ever changing. That's true. Our mindset should ever be changing. That's true. So this is the Becoming app, and you can find it on Apple and Google Play, and it's an app that you go on. There's a free version of it, but we also have a membership, and we want it to evolve. It's becoming to something that is going to support. Focus right now is women in healthcare. You know, women between the ages of like 35 to like 60, you know, women in their 60s, 70s are still working in healthcare. Yeah. You know, and especially with the past COVID thing, we realize that there's a lot of women out there who are struggling. Women, because, about 90% of people in healthcare, like the ones who are doing the work that we call heroes, are women, right? So that's why we want to focus. So that the Becoming She is out there, and it's not limited to women. It's, you know, about success, happiness,
but it's based for.
But it's based. That's
fine.
The focus.
That's fine. Without women, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
So I got to ask you a question. What came first, the I am mindset story, I am my mindset story, or life coaching?
It's something that evolved because I wasn't looking to become a life coach. Okay. I was at a place where, you know, my mom, God rest her soul, has been very influential in my life, and she passed away in 2015.
Sorry to hear that. My condolences.
Thank you. And she was like my partner in my home care, my friend. I could talk to her about everything. But one message that she always said that resonated with me is like, focus on the things that only you can do, right? She thought I was working too hard, and she was like the symbol of a hardworking woman. But she never wanted me to work as hard as she did. So after she passed, I started rethinking, you know, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing all these things. And I always tell myself I'm happy doing it, and I'm happy being busy and all of that. And then somebody, I don't remember where, I was listening to something about sermon or something, and it could be my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law is a prayer warrior. And something came up about busyness is not of God. You know, you keeping yourself busy and all the time. It's not what God wants you to do. He wants you to have, you know, a purposeful life. You know, He wants you to be intentional about everything you do. So I started transitioning to where I would try to find something that just fulfills me, something I enjoy, something that I could just put everything in. And the first thing that came up was motivation. I wanted to be a motivational speaker. But I couldn't find anything in the internet that would fill it. And then all of a sudden, life coach was just coming up. And I'm like, what is this life coaching thing? And I reached out to another sister-in-law who that was the only person at that time that I could associate a coach with. And I kind of picked her brain, and she's like, oh, you don't need a certification for that. But now I'm looking back, and I'm going to say that the insecure part of me was like, I don't know if I would feel good.
Doubt.
Yes.
Poison.
Yeah. If I would feel good doing something that I didn't have a certification for, you know, or I couldn't hone and said, you know, so I went and I sought out where I could get trained as a life coach. So I went to a certification program, and I did a certification, and I became a life coach. So when you ask what came first, it was a becoming. It was an evolvement. From everything that I did. I found that there was a place where I could go, where I could feel like I'm giving from an overflow. So the life coach kind of put everything like in one little gift basket. So when I'm a life coach and I'm serving others, if a person, you know, is coming from a place where they feel like I'm not deserving of a family, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, I don't find myself saying I understand, because I never do, but I can relate to where they're coming from. So as a life coach, I feel that I'm actually serving in every aspect of my life that I've been before. And this is just the gifting that I have that I'm able to give as a result of the things that I've done.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
And one last question I wanted to ask is, all of this inspiring and creative things that you have going on, all these ventures, who are you going to pass the baton over to?
Oh,
who will fill your shoes?
Oh my gosh.
When it's all said and done, when you retire and everything, who is going to take on the mantle of the life coach, of the entrepreneur, of the proverbial nurse of the year, the nurturer? Who is going to be that person? Out of your kids is what I'm asking. Or if you got somebody else that's looking to take over your empire, so to speak.
You are such an inspiration. You are good. So as you were talking, it brings me back to my grandmother. And she had this thing about not leaving a will. She was like, when I die, I'm not leaving anything for nobody. While I'm alive, I want you guys to be involved. I wanted to see the fruits of my labor. She wants us to be the best we can see, and she wants us to see us succeed while she's here.
Those are her flowers.
Yes. So when you're saying, who am I going to leave that to? For me, the focus is not to, it's not that I don't want to have a legacy, but it's like I want to impart my knowledge here, now. I want to be able to impact people here and hold people accountable for holding themselves accountable for what they receive and what they do with the gifting that they get. Whatever happened when I'm gone, hey, you know what I'm saying? But the focus is being in the moment and giving all that you can give from overflow. Now, I'm blessed to have 7 wonderful human beings. And why I say wonderful, yes, I'm a mother, and of course, but wonderful because I see them being people who are giving and creating. And I'm going to tell you, I have a daughter who is actually my life coach. I have a daughter who is she's not an accountant, she's in college, but I can call and talk to her about money and even borrow from her sometimes and stuff like that.
Give me her number because I need some money too.
So I have these wonderful people around me that I see that they have been my inspiration, and I see where I have inspired them, and I've seen where I've been motivating them in any areas, different areas of their life. And I see their aspirations to be people who are servants and serving others. So this is what fulfills me. So I hope that being able to live it and being blessed to see the fruits of your labor, to see your children, to see your friends, to see your co-workers emulating the person and being happy when you show up in a room. When I show up as a nurse, supervisor, everybody's like, oh my God, if I'd known you were here, that kind of thing, that gives me joy. So I can only imagine that, if I retire, because I'm always retired in my head, that there's somebody who is not just waiting until I am going to exhale, right? That they are doing it now. That's in the moment, and that I can be a support to them while they're on their journey, while they're becoming the she, or while they're working on their I am mindset, that I can have some kind of, I could be their inspiration in some way, or I could be able to motivate them in some way.
Okay, that's a good answer. So is there anything that you want to leave to the public, any quote that you want, or passage that you want to read from this wonderful book?
Well, I am going to ask you if you would do the honor of reading there's a quote at the back of the book. Would you like to share it?
Sure. I am inspiring, aspiring, motivated. My story. I will not look to the world to decide what it means to be me. I am my self-affirmation that validates my awareness of who I know myself to be. That's a beautiful quote. And that sums up and it culminates what this book means and what this book meant to me as I read through it, as I proofread it, as I formatted it, it was a testament to the journey that I was on. And although this book is geared towards women, you know, but
not just women in the I Am mindset.
I saw that it resonated with me as a human being, you know, and there's a lot of things that I took from it that I still incorporate in my life today. You just got to hold yourself accountable and be the best version of yourself. Don't take yourself too serious, and just smile and be in the moment. So I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. And just, you know, you said your audience could get this book on Amazon. It's available on Amazon, and the ebook is available on iBooks and iGoogle and everywhere that you can download an ebook. And your podcast is available on Spotify.
The I Am My Story, yes. Podcast, yes.
And
the app is on Apple and Google Play, and the app is Becoming She.
Becoming She.
Yes.
So, what is the follow-up to this book, or is this the only book that you're going to write?
Well, I guess I'll be reaching out to you because the follow-up is going to be Becoming She.
Look out for it in stores and wherever books are sold. Coming soon. And on that note, I thank you. And
you're very welcome.
This is the last of our show, and I will see you on the next episode of Creatives Corner. Thank you for watching.
Oh my God.